Section 21 of Library of the World's Best Mystery and Detective Stories, Volume 6. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Library of the World's Best Mystery and Detective Stories, Volume 6, by Julian Hawthorne, Editor. Section 21. The Jar of Olives and the Boy Kazir, from the 1001 Nights. Translated from the Arabic by Sir Richard and Lady Isabel Burton. Under the reign of the Caliph Harun al-Rashid, there dwelt in the city of Baghdad a certain merchant, Ali Khwaja Hight, who had a small stock of goods wherewith he bought and sold and made a bare livelihood, abiding alone and without a family in the house of his forebears. Now so it came to pass that each night for 3 nights together he saw in vision a venerable Shaykh, who bespake him thus: Thou art beholden to make a pilgrimage to Mecca. Why abidest thou sunk in heedless slumber, and farest not forth as it behoveth thee? Hearing these words he became sore startled and affrighted, so that he sold shop and goods and all that he had, and, with firm intent to visit the holy house of Almighty Allah, he let his home on hire, and joined a caravan that was journeying to Mecca the Magnified. But ere he left his natal city he placed 1,000 gold pieces, which were over and above his need for the journey, within an earthen jar filled up with asafari or sparrow olives, and having made fast the mouth thereof, he carried the jar to a merchant friend of many years' standing, and said, Belike, thou hast heard tell that I purpose going with a caravan on pilgrimage to Mecca, the holy city. So I have brought a jar of olives, the which, I pray thee, preserve for me in trust against my return. The merchant at once arose and, handing the key of his warehouse to Ali Khwaja, said, Here, take the key and open the store, and therein place the jar anywhere thou choosest, and when thou shalt come back, thou wilt find it even as thou leftest it. Hereupon Ali Khwaja did his friend's bidding, and locking up the door returned the key to its master. Then loading his travelling goods upon a dromedary and mounting a second beast, he fared forth with the caravan. They came at length to Mecca the Magnified, and it was the month of Zu al Hijjah, wherein myriads of Moslems hie hither on pilgrimage and pray and prostrate before the Ka'abah temple. And when he had circuited the holy house and fulfilled all the rites and ceremonies required of palmers, he set up a shop for sale of merchandise. By chance 2 merchants passing along the street espied the fine stuffs and goods in Ali Khwaja's booth, and approved much of them and praised their beauty and excellence. Presently quoth one to other, This man bringeth here most rare and costly goods. Now in Cairo, the capital of Egypt land, he would get full value for them, and far more than in the markets of this city. Hearing mention of Cairo, Ali Khwaja conceived a sore longing to visit that famous capital, so he gave up his intent to return Baghdad ward and purposed wayfaring to Egypt. Accordingly he joined a caravan, and arriving thither was well pleased with the place, both country and city, and selling his merchandise he made great gain therefrom. Then, buying other goods and stuffs, he purposed to make Damascus. But for 1 full month he tarried at Cairo and visited her sanctuaries and saintly places, and after leaving her walls, he solaced himself with seeing many famous cities distant several days' journey from the capital along the banks of the river Nilus. Presently, bidding adieu to Egypt, he arrived at the sanctified house, Jerusalem, and prayed in the temple of Banu Israel, which the Moslems had re-edified. In due time he reached Damascus, and observed that the city was well builded and much peopled, and that the fields and meads were well watered with springs and channels, and that the gardens and the vergiers were laden with flowers and fruits. Amid such delights Ali Khwaja hardly thought of Baghdad. Withal he ceased not to pursue his journey through Aleppo, Mosul, and Shiraz, tarrying some time at all of these towns, especially at Shiraz, till at length, after 7 years of wayfaring, he came back to Baghdad. For 7 long years the Baghdad merchant never once thought of Ali Khwajah, or of the trust committed to his charge, till one day as his wife sat at meat with him at the evening meal, their talk by chance was of olives. Quoth she to him, " I would now fain have some, that I may eat of them." And quoth he, " As thou speakest thereof, I bethink me of that Ali Khwajah, who 7 years ago fared on a pilgrimage to Mecca, and ere he went left in trust with me a jar of sparrow olives, which still cumbereth the storehouse. Who knoweth where he is, or what hath betided him? A man who lately returned with the Hajj caravan brought me word that Ali Khwajah had quitted Mecca the Magnified with intent to journey on to Egypt. Allah Almighty alone knoweth an he be still alive or he be now dead. However, if his olives be in good condition, I will go bring some hither, that we may taste them. So give me a platter and a lamp, that I may fetch thee somewhat of them." His wife, an honest woman and an upright, made answer, " Allah forbid that thou shouldst do a deed so base and break thy word and covenant. Who can tell? Thou art not assured by any of his death. Perchance he may come back from Egypt safe and sound to morrow or the day after. Then wilt thou, and thou cannot deliver unharmed to him what he hath left in pledge, be ashamed of this thy broken troth? And we shall be disgraced before man and dishonored in the presence of thy friend. I will not for my part have any hand in such meanness, nor will I taste the olives. Furthermore, it standeth not to reason that after 7 years' keeping they should be fit to eat. I do implore thee to forswear this ill purpose." On such wise the merchant's wife protested, and prayed her husband that he meddle not with Ali Khwajah's olives, and shamed him of his intent, so that for the nonce he cast the matter from his mind. However, although the trader refrained that evening from taking Ali Khwajah's olives, yet he kept the design in memory, until one day when, of his obstinacy and unfaith, he resolved to carry out his project, and rising up, walked toward the storeroom dish in hand. By chance he met his wife, who said, " I am no partner with thee in this ill action. In very truth some evil shall befall thee an thou do such deed." He heard her, but heeded her not, and going to the storeroom, opened the jar and found the olives spoiled and white with mold. But presently he tilted up the jar and pouring some of its contents into the dish, suddenly saw an Ashrafi fall from the vessel, together with the fruit. Then, filled with greed, he turned out all that was within into another jar and wondered with exceeding wonder to find the lower half full of golden coins. Presently, putting up the monies and the olives, he closed the vessel and going back said to his wife, " Thou spakest sooth, for I have examined the jar and found the fruit moldy and foul of smell. Wherefore I returned it to its place and left it as it was aforetime." That night the merchant could not sleep a wink for thinking of the gold and how he might lay hands thereon; and when morning morrowed, he took out all the Ashrafis and buying some fresh olives in the bazar, filled up the jar with them and closed the mouth and set it in its usual place. Now it came to pass by Allah's mercy that at the end of the month Ali Khwajah returned safe and sound to Baghdad, and he first went to his old friend, to wit the merchant, who greeted him with feigned joy, fell on his neck, but withal was sore troubled and perplexed at what might happen. After salutations and much rejoicing on either part, Ali Khwajah bespake the merchant on business and begged that he might take back his jar of Asafari olives, which he had placed in charge of his familiar. Quoth the merchant to Ali Khwajah, " O my friend, I wot not where thou didst leave the jar of olives, but here is the key; go down to the storehouse and take all that is thine own." So Ali Khwajah did as he was bidden and carrying the jar from the magazine, took his leave and hastened home. But when he opened the vessel and found not the gold coins, he was distracted and overwhelmed with grief and made bitter lamentation. Then he returned to the merchant and said, " O my friend, Allah, the All present and the All seeing, be my witness that when I went on my pilgrimage to Mecca the Magnified, I left 1,000 Ashrafis in that jar, and now I find them not. Canst thou tell me aught concerning them? And thou in thy sore need have made use of them? It mattereth not, so thou wilt give them back as soon as thou art able." The merchant, apparently pitying him, said, "O good my friend, thou didst thyself with thine hand set the jar inside the store room. I wist not that thou hadst aught in it save olives; yet as thou didst leave it, so in like manner didst thou find it and carry it away. And now thou chargest me with theft of Ashrafis. It seemeth strange and passing strange that thou shouldst make such accusation. When thou wentest, thou madest no mention of any money in the jar, but saidst that it was full of olives, even as thou hast found it. Had thou left gold coins therein, then surely thou wouldst have recovered them." Hereupon Ali Khwajah begged hard with much entreaty, saying, "Those 1,000 Ashrafis were all I owned, the money earned by years of toil. I do beseech thee have pity on my case and give them back to me." Replied the merchant, waxing wroth with great wrath, "O my friend, a fine fellow thou art, to talk of honesty and withal make such false and lying charge. Begone! Hie thee hence and come not to my house again, for now I know thee as thou art, a swindler and impostor." Hearing this dispute between Ali Khwajah and the merchant, all the people of the quarter came crowding to the shop, and thus it became well known to all, rich and poor, within the city of Baghdad, how that one Ali Khwajah had hidden 1,000 Ashrafis within a jar of olives and had placed it on trust with a certain merchant. Moreover, how, after pilgrimage to Mecca and 7 years of travel, the poor man had returned, and that the rich man had gainsaid his words anent the gold, and was ready to make oath that he had not received any trust of the kind. At length, when naught else availed, Ali Khwajah was constrained to bring the matter before the Kazi and to claim 1,000 Ashrafis of his false friend. The judge asked, "What witnesses hast thou who may speak for thee?" And the plaintiff answered, "O my lord the Kazi, I feared to tell the matter to any man lest all come to know of my secret. Allah Almighty is my sole testimony. This merchant was my friend, and I recked not that he would prove dishonest and unfaithful." Quoth the judge, "Then must I needs send for the merchant and hear what he saith on oath." And when the defendant came, they made him swear by all he deemed holy, facing Ka'abah wards with hands uplifted, and he cried, "I swear that I know naught of any Ashrafis belonging to Ali Khwajah." Hereat the Kazi pronounced him innocent and dismissed him from court, and Ali Khwajah went home sad at heart and said to himself, "Alas, what justice is this which hath been meted out to me, that I should lose my money and my just cause be deemed unjust? It hath been truly said, he loseth the lave who sueth before a knave." On the next day he drew out a statement of his case, and as the Caliph Harun al Rashid was on his way to Friday prayers, he fell down on the ground before him and presented to him the paper. The Commander of the Faithful read the petition and having understood the case, deigned give order, saying, "Tomorrow bring the accuser and the accused to the audience hall and place the petition before my presence, for I myself will inquire into this matter." That night the Prince of True Believers, as was his wont, donned disguise to walk about the squares of Baghdad and its streets and lanes, and accompanied by Ja'afar the Barmaki and Masrur the sworder of his vengeance, proceeded to espy what happened in the city. Immediately on issuing forth he came upon an open place in the bazaar, when he heard the hubbub of children a playing and saw at scanty distance some 10 or dozen boys making sport among themselves in the moonlight, and he stopped awhile to watch their diversion. Then one among the lads, a goodly and a fair complexioned, said to the others, "Come now and let us play the game of Kazi. I will be the judge. Let one of you be Ali Khwajah and another the merchant with whom he placed the 1,000 Ashrafis in pledge before faring on his pilgrimage. So come ye before me and let each one plead his plea." When the Caliph heard the name of Ali Khwajah, he minded him of the petition which had been presented to him for justice against the merchant, and bethought him that he would wait and see how the boy would perform the part of Kazi in their game, and upon what decision he would decide. So the Prince watched the mock trial with keen interest, saying to himself, "This case hath verily made such stir within the city that even the children know thereof and react it in their sports." Presently he among the lads who took the part of Ali Khwajah, the plaintiff, and his playmate who represented the merchant of Baghdad, accused of theft, advanced and stood before the boy who as the Kazi sat in pomp and dignity. Quoth the judge, "O Ali Khwajah, what is thy claim against this merchant?" And the complainant preferred his charge in a plea of full detail. Then said the Kazi to the boy who acted merchant, "What answerest thou to this complaint, and why didst thou not return the gold pieces?" The accused made reply even as the real defendant had done, and denied the charge before the judge, professing himself ready to take oath thereto. Then said the boy Kazi, "Ere thou swear on oath that thou hast not taken the money, I would fain see for myself the jar of olives which the plaintiff deposited with thee on trust." Then turning to the boy who represented Ali Khwajah, he cried, "Go thou, and instantly produce the jar, that I may inspect it." And when the vessel was brought, the Kazi said to the two contentious, "See now and say me, be this the very jar which thou, the plaintiff, leftest with the defendant?" And both answered that it was one and the same. Then said the self constituted judge, "Open now the jar and bring hither some of the contents, that I may see the state in which the Asafari olives actually are." Then tasting of the fruit, "How is this? I find their flavor is fresh and their state excellent. Surely during the lapse of 7 12 months the olives would have become moldy and rotten. Bring now before me 2 oil merchants of the town, that they may pass opinion upon them." Then 2 other of the boys assumed the parts commanded, and coming into court stood before the Kazi, who asked, "Are ye olive merchants by trade?" They answered, "We are, and this hath been our calling for many generations, and in buying and selling olives we earn our daily bread." Then said the Kazi, "Tell me now, how long do olives keep fresh and well flavored?" And they said, "O my lord, however carefully we keep them, after the 3rd year they change flavor and color and become no longer fit for food. In fact, they are good only to be cast away." Thereupon quoth the boy Kazi, "Examine me now these olives that are in this jar, and say me how old are they, and what is their condition and savor." The 2 boys who played the parts of oil merchants pretended to take some berries from the jar and taste them, and presently they said, "O our lord the Kazi, these olives are in fair condition and full flavored." Quoth the Kazi, "Ye speak falsely, for 'tis 7 years since Ali Khwajah put them in the jar, as he was about to go a pilgrimaging." And quoth they, "Say whatso thou wilt, those olives are of this year's growth, and there is not an oil merchant in all Baghdad but who will agree with us." Moreover, the accused was made to taste and smell the fruits, and he could not but admit that it was even so as they had avouched. Then said the boy Kazi to the boy defendant, "'Tis clear thou art a rogue and a rascal, and thou hast done a deed wherefore thou richly deservest the gibbet." Hearing this, the children frisked about and clapped their hands with glee and gladness. Then seizing hold of him who acted as the merchant of Baghdad, they led him off as to execution. The commander of the faithful, Harun al Rashid, was greatly pleased at this acuteness of the boy who had assumed the part of the judge in the play, and commanded his Wazir Ja'afar, saying, "Mark well the lad who enacted the Kazi in this mock trial, and see that thou produce him on the morrow. He shall try the case in my presence, substantially and in real earnest, even as we have heard him deal with it in play. Summon also the Kazi of this city, that he may learn the administration of justice from this child. Moreover, send word to Ali Khwajah, bidding him bring with him the jar of olives, and have also in readiness 2 oil merchants of the town." Thus as they walked along, the caliph gave orders to the Wazir, and then returned to his palace. So on the morrow Ja'afar the Barmaki went to that quarter of the town where the children had enacted the mock trial, and asked the schoolmaster where his scholars might be. And he answered, " They have all gone away, each to his home." So the minister visited the houses pointed out to him, and ordered the little ones to appear in his presence. Accordingly they were brought before him, when he said to them, " Who among you is he that yesternight acted the part of Kazi in play, and passed sentence in the case of Ali Khwajah?" The eldest of them replied, " 'Twas I, O my lord the Wazir." And then he waxed pale, not knowing why the question was put. Cried the minister, " Come along with me. The Commander of the Faithful hath need of thee." At this the mother of the lad was sore afraid and wept. But Ja'afar comforted her and said, " O my lady, have no fear and trouble not thyself. Thy son will soon return to thee in safety, Inshallah, God willing, and methinks the Sultan will show much favor unto him." The woman's heart was heartened on hearing these words of the Wazir, and she joyfully dressed her boy in his best attire and sent him off with the Wazir, who led him by the hand to the Caliph's audience hall and executed all the other commandments which had been issued by his liege lord. Then the Commander of the Faithful, having taken seat upon the throne of justice, set the boy upon a seat beside him, and as soon as the contending parties appeared before him, that is Ali Khwajah and the merchant of Baghdad, he commanded them to state each man his case in presence of the child who should adjudge the suit. So the two, plaintiff and defendant, recounted their contention before the boy in full detail. And when the accused stoutly denied the charge and was about to swear on oath that what he said was true, with hands uplifted and facing Ka'abah wards, the child Kazi prevented him, saying, "Enough! Swear not on oath till thou art bidden, and first let the jar of olives be produced in court." Forthwith the jar was brought forward and placed before him, and the lad bade open it. Then tasting one, he gave also to two oil merchants, who had been summoned that they might do likewise and declare how old was the fruit and whether its savor was good or bad. They did his bidding and said, "The flavor of these olives hath not changed, and they are of this year's growth." Then said the boy, "Methinks ye are mistaken, for 7 years ago Ali Khwajah put the olives into the jar. How then could fruit of this year find their way therein?" But they replied, "'Tis even as we say, and thou believe not our words, send straightway for other oil merchants and make inquiry of them. So shalt thou know if we speak sooth or lies." But when the merchant of Baghdad saw that he could no longer avail to prove his innocence, he confessed everything; to wit, how he had taken out the Ashrafis and filled the jar with fresh olives. Hearing this, the boy said to the Prince of True Believers, "O gracious sovereign, last night in play we tried this cause, but thou alone hast power to apply the penalty. I have adjudged the matter in thy presence, and I humbly pray that thou punish this merchant according to the law of the Koran and the custom of the Apostle, and thou decree the restoring of his 1,000 gold pieces to Ali Khwajah, for that he hath been proved entitled to them." End of Section 21.